Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my gush for Locklands by Robert Jackson Bennett, and really the entire Foundry Side series. So this video will have spoilers in it. If you want to check out my spoiler-free review, it is linked on the screen. I am so glad that I read this book. I almost didn't. I mentioned this a few different places, but I was kind of like, I'd kind of forgotten about the second book, and did I want to go through, you know, possibly rereading them or whatever, and then I found summaries for them and was able to dive back in, and I'm so glad because this series is so unique and so fun and different, and the themes of it and what it explores I just really like overall. So I really like this idea of fantasy science, which is different for me than science fantasy like Star Wars or something, but this idea of how they did everything, like how Giva was a network of almost like AI interconnected minds. You know, what a cool idea, and something that I like would have never really seen coming, even with like the whole like twinning stuff. The fact that they used that as a way to communicate, as a way to stay connected, and the themes of that and community and sort of like transcending any kind of conflict. So interesting in a utopian way, but in a way that didn't feel cloying to me. Sometimes when you have these like worlds that are seen as like, you know, sort of the ideal, it can be very sort of overdone, but this felt like, yeah, like they just kept saying how we don't fight and disagree because we completely understand the other person's perspective. And then when you have characters who are cut off from that, like Sanchia and like Berenice, what? Like, it really, especially like Berenice's stuff at the end, where she is cut off from it, and it's like, oh my god, this would be so different if she knew what was going on, but she doesn't. And you know, her being cut off from Sanchia and like not feeling that same deep connection but still really loving her, like all of that is so fucking good. And all of the wrap up and the concluding of the arcs that we got for like Clef and his family, oh my god. Like the fact that this series was actually like, all along, was actually a series about this family. Like, when he starts getting the visions of the wife and things, and I knew that's who it was, like that's who, was it Valoria? I could tell that's what it was, and it was like, and then they're all together at the end. Like, oh my god. Like, his grief was so strong that he tried to fix it, which is a story we've seen before, but this is a different way of like breaking time-space reality to do that, giving very much Wanda, but like in a fantasy way, right? And you know, trying to like understand the makings behind reality, and then it all being like, you know, sometimes you just have to grieve and like move on. And again, when they all like come together at the end, it's just like, oh my god. So that was so good. Just the exploration of grief and trauma and the way that he like tried to like work through that, the impact that had on his child, who I love when we have an antagonist that has to team up with the heroes at some point. Like, iconic. As soon as our big bad from the last book came in and they have to team up, amazing. Like at first I was thinking like, oh, we're not getting enough of, I'm forgetting the names because I read this on ebook and I don't have it in front of me anymore, so I can't just flip through it. Trevane, like when we had like Trevane and it was like, you know, it's Gregor and but it's not and whatever. I was like, okay, we're not necessarily getting a ton of that, but like, we didn't even need it necessarily. And then when, I didn't even think he was gonna come back at the end, Gregor. And so when we had him, and then he ends up being a part of like Giva eventually, and he's like, I don't wanna leave you, because him and Berenice were almost like platonic life partners for all those years while she was waiting to figure out how to get to Sanchia, who she does get to at the end. Like all of that, the wrap up of this and the way this was done was so good. And like the way that they evolved as a civilization to again create something like greeter and design and things, and like even how they had, you know, a whole collective mind that took care of kids and like elders. I want to go to there. I think having people in my brain would be probably horrendous, but it was still so interesting, like an interesting way to think of a collective and a community and things. So yeah, overall, really dug this. I think Robert Jackson Bennett does great with his like action sequences and things. I never feel super bogged down. Sometimes the way that some of the sciencey fantasy bits are explained, I'm like, how did you think of this? But loved that, and yeah, I'm very excited to see what he does in the future with different things, because I think his genre bending is really good. I don't know, I did give up on the City of Stairs series, but this almost makes me want to retry it again. But I think I might just pay attention to what he does in the future, because I really dig his storytelling and what he's doing with genre and things. So if you have any recommendations for books that did something similar to this, I have not read anything similar to this. I've definitely read books that have a magic system that feels more clinical or science-y, like The Name of the Wind or Mistborn or whatever, but this is different. Like, this flat out feels like science, feels like a computer, right? I think more books like that would be kind of cool. So if you have any recommendations that are like that, let me know. So comment below, let me know your thoughts on Locklands and the series overall. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.